So in this video, I want to talk about some beginner tips on how to get into hunting. And specifically, I'm going to use squirrel hunting as an example for this video. Part of what I would like to do on this channel is to help people who are maybe trying to start out hunting, give them some tips on how to go about that. So for squirrel hunting, and any small game really is a great way to get into hunting. Squirrels specifically, they tend to be a target-rich animal. It's easier to get opportunities of killing one, so that's a good place to start with small game. Also, when hunting small game, you can develop skills that will translate to hunting big game. There's patience involved with small game. There's marksmanship. The way I hunt squirrels, there's glassing involved. So just some different things that help you to become a better hunter, a better woodsman, that will translate to other things that you hunt. So just want to go through some steps on how to go about getting into hunting, again using squirrel hunting as the example. So step one is to know your local laws. I have here a book. This is the North Carolina Game and Fish Regulations book that they give you for free. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them usually at any type of firearm store or store that sells hunting goods. But they give this out for free so that you can be informed of your local laws. Small game hunting here in my state requires a license. You have to have a hunting license, which usually means you have to go through the hunter safety course, which is a good thing so that you know how to safely hunt, safely use your firearm. And so it gives you the hunting season. Squirrel season has a hunting season here. There's a specific time of year that you can hunt them. You have to wear orange, right? That's visible from 360 degrees. There are daily limits. So there's no possession limit, but there are daily limits, meaning you can't kill more than 8 in a day. So there's going to be specific laws depending on where you live, so you just need to make sure you're aware of those before you try to go out hunting. So step number 2 is to know your weapon of choice. So I specifically hunt with a .22. But you can use a shotgun. A 410 would be a good choice. A air rifle. There are air rifles now that are good for small game hunting. But whatever your weapon of choice, you need to familiarize yourself with that gun. So make sure you're practicing with it. Make sure you're accurate with that gun. You don't want to go out there and just marginally hit animals and have a bunch of wounded animals running around. You want to make sure you're accurate so that you can kill them with one shot ethically, quickly. This will lead to less waste of the meat. That's part of the reason why I use a .22, because you can shoot them in the head. It only makes one little hole, kills them quickly, and you're not wasting any meat. With a shotgun, you could waste some of the meat by messing it up with the pellets. You also have to go back and pick out the pellets once you've killed the squirrel. So it's a little more tedious when you're cleaning the animal and cooking with it, getting those pellets out. So that's why I prefer the .22. That would be my recommendation. But regardless, you just want to make sure you're familiar with that weapon. You know how the action works, how to load it, how to load the chamber, where the safety's at, so you're being safe with it. Again, going back to the hunter safety course, if you have to have a license to hunt, it's going to teach you firearm safety. Always point the muzzle in a safe direction. Don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're intending to shoot and kill, right? Know what's behind your target, so that if the bullet misses your target and it's going to keep traveling, right, you're not going to be shooting at someone's house or something like that. So these are just some things that you need to know and be aware of with firearm safety, and again, familiarizing yourself with that weapon of choice. Step number 3 where to hunt. So maybe you've gone to the hunter safety course, you've gone and bought your small game license, you've been practicing with your firearm, you're very accurate with it. So now where do you hunt? Well, there's private land and public land. So again, going back, knowing your regulations. If you're hunting on private land, do you have to have written permission? Make sure you go and obtain that written permission. If you're hunting on public land, make sure you can small game hunt on that public land. But as far as where to hunt, well, squirrels live in trees, so you want to find some good hardwoods would be my recommendation. Squirrels eat acorns, they eat hickory nuts, and so if you have hardwoods, you're going to have those things there. Squirrels will eat pine cones as well, so you can find squirrels in pine stands. But typically hardwoods is where I would go, not only for finding the squirrels, but also if you tree one in the tree, well, if they're in a pine tree, it's going to be harder to find them because of all the greenery. Hardwoods would be a good start. Again, for those acorns, those hickory nuts, you're going to find a lot of squirrels. Okay, so when to go hunting. In terms of the season, I would say, in my opinion, the best time is October or November, because this is when the acorns are falling, the hickory nuts are falling, right? Squirrels tend to be very active on the ground, looking for those nuts, storing them for the winter. That is probably when I see most squirrels being active on the ground. But I love to deer hunt, and October, November is the best time to go deer hunting, in my opinion. So with that said, I tend to do most of my squirrel hunting in January or February, and squirrels, they tend to be active any month of the year, so whenever you go, it's going to be fine. Again, going back to regulations, this is why they're so important. You just have to make sure it's in season. For my state, squirrel season comes in the middle of October and runs through February. So again, I'm doing deer hunting October, November, December, and then I usually do my squirrel hunting in January and February. In terms of the day when to go, I would prefer mornings. They just tend to be more active, in my opinion, but again, the squirrels, they tend to be active any time of the day. You can have an opportunity to kill some. So whenever you can go is a good time to go. Okay, so now you've learned your regulations, you've got your hunting license, you've practiced with your firearm, you're very accurate, you found a place that you can go. Maybe it's some private land with a good block of hardwoods. You're going to go the next morning. So now how do you go about hunting squirrels once you're actually out there? Well, if you're in the woods, you're probably going to see or hear them, but there are some signs that you can tip you off to where squirrels are being active at on the ground. Again, they like acorns, they like hickory nuts, and so you can find these nuts cracked open, right? You can find the shells where squirrels have been eating them. Sometimes you'll find little holes dug where squirrels have dug up acorns that they've buried. So you can look for that to know that you're in a good spot where squirrels are being active. You can also learn what squirrels sound like. They make a chirping noise, and so sometimes you can hear one chirping in the distance. That would tip you off to where one's at. But there are two ways that I recommend going about actually hunting the squirrels. The first one is if you find a good spot where you maybe see squirrels in the past, or you found a lot of acorns, a lot of hickory nuts, a lot of empty shells, broken shells where squirrels have been eating it. Just set up on the ground up next to a big tree. You sit there, be quiet. Typically you're going to get a couple of opportunities at a squirrel. This requires patience, right? It requires being still, but it's a good way to get a couple opportunities at squirrels. The second way, which is my preferred way, is to still hunt them. So still hunting is basically just walking through the woods slowly, trying to be quiet, and sort of just sneaking up on the game. Squirrels make a lot of noise when they're on the ground in leaves. They make a ton of noise, just ask any deer hunter. So typically, if you can walk quietly, maybe find a path that goes through the middle of the woods, or if there's a drainage where the leaves have washed away and there's dirt exposed. If you can walk in these areas not making any noise walking, you can tend to hear squirrels up ahead of you making noise in the leaves, and then you just look for them, slowly approach them, and sometimes you can get an opportunity that way. You can also, if you see one in the distance, try to quickly approach it, walking fast, to get it to climb up the tree. And once you've done that, then it's just a matter of finding them up in the treetop and shooting them out of the tree. And so this is the way that I usually hunt. The third way, and it's probably the most popular way, is hunting with a dog, but I do not have a squirrel dog. So if you can find a friend or someone that has a squirrel dog that's willing to take you along, that would be a really great way to get into hunting, because then you have a mentor, but also you're going to have a lot of opportunities to get used to shooting squirrels, right, and getting used to hunting them. And so those are 3 ways that you can go about squirrel hunting. So maybe you're asking, what other gear do I need? Is there anything I need besides my gun? Well, not really. As long as you have your hunting license, you're wearing orange, you have an orange hat or orange vest, and you have your firearm, that's really all you need for squirrel hunting. There are a couple of other things that I would recommend. I hunt with iron sights on my .22, so I like to carry my binoculars with me, because if the squirrels climb up in the top of the tree, they are extremely good at hiding. And so using binoculars really helps to be able to pick them out of the treetop. They'll usually hide in like the Y of the tree or on the top of a limb. They'll just lay flat. But a lot of times you can find their tail, right? Because their tail will hang over the limb and you can find where they're at. And then just reposition yourself to get an angle for a good shot at the squirrel. And so binoculars would be a tip if you're using a shotgun or a .22 with iron sights and don't have scope. The other gear that I would use would be a pack of some sort. I usually just carry a backpack, throw them in there, but just something to carry your squirrels in. Other than that, good shoes, good boots. You're walking in the woods. You don't have to have camo for hunting squirrels. So yeah, pretty simple. That's why small game is such a good way to get into hunting, because you don't have to have, tons of gear or anything like that. So now you've killed one. What do you do after you've killed one? Well, you have to skin the squirrel, and skinning squirrels can be tough. It took me a while to figure out the best way that I prefer to skin them, and I've come to like a way that I call it undressing the squirrel. So what you do to skin them this way is you're going to clip off all 4 feet with a pair of shears or a pair of kitchen scissors, and then you're going to cut around their waist. So you're going to cut the fur, the skin around the waist. You're going to make a circle completely around the body. And then once you've done this, you can just pull off one half and then pull off the other half. So think about taking off like a shirt in a pair of pants, right? You're going to pull off the shirt and you're going to pull off the pair of pants, like you're undressing the squirrel. This has been my preferred method. It's been the easiest way that I found to skin a squirrel. Then you're going to want to gut it, and you do this by slitting the stomach and then just pulling out the guts and the organs. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. You don't want to just stab in there and open up the guts. So you want to make just a slight slit in the stomach, open it up with your hands and pull out the guts. And then you're going to want to wash your squirrel. You're going to quarter it out. So I typically keep the back half of the body and the 4 legs that has the most meat on it. And then you can freeze it till you've killed enough for a meal. Typically you're going to want to cook it low, slow. You can find a lot of recipes online. And so that's squirrel hunting, right? That's small game hunting. That's getting into it. So this is some of my beginner tips for someone who maybe wants to start hunting but isn't sure where to start. Squirrels, small game in general, it's a great way to get into hunting. It's going to be easier. It's going to be more fun because you're going to have a lot of opportunities, and you're just going to learn very quickly some woodsmanship, basic woodsmanship that will translate to big game and other things. If you're starting out on big game, it can be kind of daunting. It's a bigger animal. You know, if you kill one, you got to take care of it. You got to skin it, process it, and so that can be a little daunting. It's good to get some experience with handling animals, killing animals, and just overall hunting before starting out on something bigger. So that's all that I have for this one. You know, if you like this video, this sort of tips for a beginner, please hit like, subscribe. If you've been squirrel hunting before and you got a squirrel recipe, leave it in the comments. If you got some more tips for a beginner, leave those in the comments. And I hope y'all enjoyed this video.